Be like, hey, I left some spicy cheeses at the checkout.
There is no in there. There's none in there. There's nothing else. Nope.
All right. Let's just.
I've got injuries pulled up. I've got everything pulled up, so I'm
And the
good.
trades.
Shh, I'm busy.
The trades was only one, right?
Well,
Devontae?
Russell Wilson is now starting.
Well, in line to start. So we'll do a breaking news sounder at the top. How's that?
All right.
All right, you ready?
That I am.
Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. It's Doug and Tyler. We're here to give you the rundown on week 6, all the injuries, all the shuffling of starting lineups. We do have a trade to talk about that just went down. Breaking news, Tyler.
Yeah, we get a break news. Not wind, news.
Yeah, well, we break wind too. But the breaking news is Pittsburgh Steelers news. It looks like Russell Wilson is in line to take first team reps this week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's still hope for your passing game, Pittsburgh and George Pickens. As Russell Wilson looks like he might make his debut now that his calf is all healed up. Tyler, the Justin Fields experience is inexperienced. For fantasy, he's been okay. But you think this is the right move for Pittsburgh going forward?
So, I don't know. I mean, they're winning games. Fields is running the ball just fine. Their offensive line is beat up. The thing that I'm going to be interested to see is to see how Russ can evade defenders in the pocket, because Fields is mobile, and when the offensive line is hurt, Fields is able to move around. Russ is, as we have seen throughout the years, as he gets older, is not so good in this department anymore.
Let Russ get cooked.
Yeah. I think this could be either something that helps out the passing game, or it could legit be something that destroys the Steelers season. Like, this could alter their whole season, because the locker room likes Fields. That's the report is, hey, the whole locker room is around Fields. And I think it's more of they need just a tad bit more in the offense, in the passing game is the reason why they're doing it. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, good for Pickens. I think once Roman Wilson second half comes, it'll be good for him.
Yep.
And then Pat Freiermuth, Russ doesn't throw to tight end, so we'll see how that works.
It'll be, it's good for Jalen Warren is one of the things, because at least Russell Wilson will throw to the running back, where Fields just never does. So I agree with that. And it's nice if you had Russell Wilson on your roster. Now you have an extra quarterback that you can potentially start with the bye weeks coming up, and that is always handy in the Superflex leagues. All right, we have more breaking news, Tyler. It is a crazy Tuesday here at the Dynasty Happy Hour offices.
Yep, we've got first, right? I'm pretty sure this is breaking. Yep.
Breaking, yes. Davante Adams has been traded to guess where, Tyler? We all knew it was coming.
I don't know. Crybaby Rogers.
Oh, Aaron's like, Mike Williams drops passes. Get me a receiver.
It's his fault.
I didn't underthrow the ball.
Do you think, I have to ask, in my first initial thought when this happened, that Hail Mary throw at this end of half, how do you think he walked into the locker room?
Probably like with a big boner.
Like, hey guys, I used to do that all the time. I did that all the time. That's all me. Oh, probably. Alan Lazard, you caught it with your helmet? No, that was a great throw.
No, I threw it exactly where it needed to be. Yeah. Davante Adams goes to the Jets. It's a third-round pick it's a conditional third-round pick that can be a second-round pick, but let's be honest. I looked at the terms. Davante Adams has to be a first or second-team All-Pro or go to the AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, so it's a third-round pick for Davante Adams from the Raiders. The Jets eat all of his salary going forward, which this year I think it's like $12 million, and then the next 2 years it's not guaranteed, but it's like $34 million a year. Yikes! The Raiders are going to take like a $14 million dead cap hit. You know what? They're just like, he's not going to play for us. Let's get him out of here. We've seen this happen with quarterbacks like your Carson Wentz and
Matt Ryan.
What was the other Matt Ryan with the other big albatross contract? Like these things happen. What do we think this means for the passing game? I think it's, Rodgers obviously is upgraded. Maybe he's a reliable QB2 every week. But I think the big thing is what's going to go on with Garrett Wilson. I kind of like this for Garrett Wilson, to be honest.
Me too.
He's used to seeing number one corners. Now he has to face the second best corner Like, okay, I know his target share might go down a little bit. He's sitting
Which
at
is
like
fine,
30%. I'm
because
okay with it.
I think the target value will be better because he's getting all these like dink and dunk throws, and then
Slants
he's getting like ultra targeted. I think we're gonna see it more downfield now. Alan Lazard, where he was, I think, is where Garrett Wilson will be now.
Yeah, so I kind of like this. I know on the surface it looks like, oh, Garrett Wilson, blah blah blah.
Oh, he's a
I kind
buy.
of like it for him.
Yeah, he's a buy.
And he has been. Yeah, I mean, everyone was talking about it 3 weeks ago. Is he elite? Like blah blah blah. And then he strings together like 2 top 15 wide receiver performances, and everyone's quiet.
Yeah.
Weird how that works. From the tight end, Ty Conklin, he was pretty much absent last night, and I think this actually helps out Breece Hall too. When you have better weapons downfield, Breece looked pretty good last night. Maybe it takes a chip into his passing work, which is something that makes him different than a lot of other running backs. But I like this move for Breece Hall as well.
Yeah, and running backs right now are kind of just, hey, if you got, in my opinion, if you've got Bijan, Breece, or Jahmyr Gibbs, like I think those 3 right now are elite until Ashton Genty comes in, and
you're waiting for McCaffrey to come back.
Yeah,
which I am in a couple of leagues. Please come back, CMC. No new updates other than he's eligible to be activated, but he is not going to be activated. So it looks like he's going to be missing at least another week or 2.
Who's that?
McCaffrey. It looks like the dates that have been given is like the first week of November. So the back half of the season, which makes sense. And we don't want him to get hurt, obviously. But if you've been surviving with McCaffrey on your roster, I've got a 5-1 team, a 3-3 team with McCaffrey, a 4-2 team with McCaffrey on my IR. I'm licking my chops because beginning of November comes and I've got my RB1 back. Like, let's go. So hopefully you've been able to tread water with CMC on your IR spot. And the Niners also did open up the practice period for Ricky Pearsall, so it looks like he's going to be activated probably before McCaffrey is here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
so
he was back at practice.
Yep. All right, let's go over some quick injuries. It was another week where we had some pretty big ones. Lots of stuff going on here. Let's go over the biggest one. If you started Marvin Harrison Jr., you got a 0 this week, which is never fun. He had a concussion early in the first half. He's going to have to clear concussion protocol before coming back for week 7. So that's going to be a situation to monitor. The Cardinals did activate Zay Jones off the suspension list. I think it was a suspension list. So Zay Jones is going to be coming back. So that gives the Cardinals another pass catcher. If Harrison misses time, maybe it gives Zay Jones a spot start there. Let's see. We got the Cleveland Browns. Jerome Ford left in the first quarter and was ruled out with a hamstring. It looks like he is week to week. The good news is there's help coming in the name of Nick Chubb, who is practicing and could be active, I think, as early as this week.
Rumor has it he is playing week 7. If he comes out gangbusters, like this only cements his whole legacy. Like
his legacy.
Yeah, we saw Adrian Peterson tear his ACL, and everybody's like, "Oh, there's no way!" And just boom.
These guys are robots, dude.
Yeah, Nick Chubb, Adrian Peterson. I'd say McCaffrey is close. Yeah, Derrick Henry is in that tier now. Like those guys are built way different.
And the crazy thing is, Henry's never had a major injury.
Yeah,
and especially with all those touches that he had in high school.
Did you see that picture of him when he runs? He's like smiling, wide-eyed. Like his eyes are just like wide open, and he's like smirking, like smiling. It's like, thank you.
I'm good. I'm good, and I know it. I'm gonna run you over. So Nick Chubb could be active as early as this week. I would put him into your lineups if you have him, because running back is kind of a shit show right now.
And that team is too.
Yep. A couple defensive injuries that are notated. Patrick Surtain had a concussion as well. So he's been a lockdown, probably the best corner in the league. So I know the Denver Broncos play on Thursday night against the Saints, who have some injuries, which we'll go over here in a minute. So that might be an opportunity for a Bub Means that might do something on Thursday night, because it looks like both Rashid Shaheed, who has a knee injury, and they were not sure if it was significant or not. So he's extremely questionable to doubtful. And then obviously Chris Olave had a concussion on Sunday. He's not going to be able to play Thursday. I can rule him out now.
100%. Him
at this point. Yeah. So they're going to be ruled out. So very thin pass catching core for the New Orleans Saints. We also saw, well, hopefully they didn't see it. It was a gruesome leg injury to Aiden Hutchinson as the Cowboys got absolutely blown out by the Detroit Lions. And Hutchinson broke his tibia and femur. He's going to miss the remainder of the regular season. If they make the Super Bowl, maybe he gets back. But that was a sucky injury because Aiden Hutchinson is freaking awesome, and I love watching him play football.
The thing with this injury, it's kind of similar to like Tony Pollard and Mark Andrews. These injuries take a little time. Usually for offensive players, it's like a year after. But I think with Hutchinson, with his youth, and I just think he'll be back next year just fine. So if you're in IDP league and this is a buying window, he is an elite IDP player. And so when I first watched it, I was like, I don't see what happened. I'm like, an ankle sprain.
When I first saw it too, I was like, oh, and then they slowed it down and I was like, oh.
Yeah, when it wrapped around the other guy's leg, I was like, oh. And just think of like the force and speed the two legs were going. Oh my God. Like
it was like a car accident. Ouch. I mean, football is like a 50 or 60 mini car accidents every week.
Yeah.
Every game. So let's move it on. Green Bay Packers, Dontavian Wicks left against Arizona, did not return. He is considered week to week with the shoulder injury. So situation to monitor there as far as targets and all that kind of stuff goes. Jacksonville, Travis Etienne had a hamstring injury. He is being considered week to week. We saw Tank Bigsby, who was everyone's darling last week, not really do much. And Dearness Johnson actually had a bigger role than I thought he would. They play the Patriots over in England or London again this week. So it'll be interesting to see how that backfield shakes out there. Etienne finished the day with negative 0.10 fantasy points.
Helping Olave.
Yeah, trust me. I had Olave in one league, but Quentin Johnson had a right leg injury. He came back to the game. News out of Miami is that Tua Tagovailoa will come back this season, but he is not expected to return in week 7 or week 8 rather. Week 7? Yeah, because they just had their bye week.
Yeah, week 7. He's still on IR. So the bye week doesn't count as an IR week. So he is on IR still. Week 8, I think he will come back because he's symptom-free. He can return to practice
on October 23rd at the earliest.
Yep, he's symptom-free. Everything I've heard is positive. He's ready to get back in. So if you were somebody who bought low on Tua, you will be getting Tua soon.
Yep. Dallas Goedert suffered a hamstring injury early in the first quarter and was ruled out. So that's a thing to keep an eye on. I know he was having a decent year. He had that one big game, but tight end's a hot mess. Tennessee Titans, Tajay Spears also had a hamstring. Lots of hamstrings this week. He's considered week to week there. So those are kind of your injury roundup as new injuries pop up this week. I know it's going to start getting thinner and thinner with more injuries, more bye weeks. So if you're sitting pretty right now and you're a 5-1, 4-2 team, you can afford to take one of these losses in the next few weeks if you have buys and injuries. Obviously, if you can win, that's great. But I always preach in Dynasty, have deep rosters because injuries happen. You can get in tricky bye week situations. So always try to have a good quality roster from top to bottom. Try not to be too top heavy because then if those guys get hurt, you're starting duds. And that's no fun. So let's move on. Tyler, anything else to add before we kick it off here?
No. Remember the NFL trade deadline is moved up a week. So they get an extra week to do trades. I think
so. It's moved back a week.
Yeah, back week. I think it's like during daylight savings or something like that.
It's November 2nd, I think.
Yeah,
we got a couple weeks.
So I'm kind of hoping this pushes the NFL to do more trades, and what we've seen with the contracts and how they're able to kind of move around them. I feel like it might be a little easier to move around bigger contracts.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely, you're going to be into week 8 of the season by the time the trade deadline comes. I think there's going to be teams that have a glaring need are going to know that, like the Cowboys needing a running back or whoever to try to make that push. And you kind of know if you're a contender or a pretender at that point for the most part too. So if the Chiefs need a wide receiver, stuff like that. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right, let's go over some of the slate. The Niners Seahawks game was kind of fun until Jordan Mason got hurt, and then we saw Garendo do stuff. But he had that one big run. But I know he'll be a popular redraft waiver wire pick.
It was tough watching him, like watching Jordan Mason compared to Garendo. It's like night and day. And And Guerrero has that ability to be like, oh, there's a hole. I'm going to run it 76 yards.
It's almost like the two of those guys are Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, except I even think
bit.
Tevin Coleman might have been better than Guerrero. Just
Fair.
Guerrero is all speed. He's got no vision. It's not like I dropped him from a taxi squad weeks ago, and I was like, am I regretting it?
No,
Not
no
really.
regrets.
Like I was like,
Yeah.
no, not really.
Yeah, I think that people are frustrated with DK.
I wouldn't. He's been good.
No, he's been good, and I think the Seattle Seahawks have one of the easiest schedules coming up for quarterbacks, so we should see some positive regression with DK. Outside of this game, Ken Walker's pass game usage, not what I expected to happen, and that's been, we all like Zach Charbonnet, or at least you and I like Zach Charbonnet. But unless Walker's hurt, I mean, Charbonnet's not even really a flex, unfortunately. Walker caught a ton of passes in this one. He looks good in the passing game. So that was kind of a surprise. And then Noah Fant had a fantasy relevant game for once in his life.
Yeah, I saw him on a waiver in our IDP league.
I dropped him.
Yeah, and I just snagged him up. I'm like, oh, Noah Fant. Okay, I got an empty roster spot. And I was like, okay. I
would never start him. I have Laporta.
I probably will never start him, but it's just nice to be like, oh yeah, I remember him.
I needed the dollars to make some moves, so that's why I dropped him.
That's fair.
Nothing else in this one other than Brock Purdy having a nice game here against Seattle.
So that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Once again, people undervalue this guy who is the top 8 quarterback in fantasy right now. When are people going to start valuing him? Like, I was listening to podcasts and like, once he gets a contract, he's going to be around where Joe Burrow is. Like, that's going to be his value in Dynasty once he gets his contract, once he's the highest paid quarterback. I mean, it happened with Jordan Love. People didn't believe Jordan Love got paid, and now his value skyrocketed to where it's up to where Burrow and all them are. Mm-hmm. It's going to take Purdy getting that contract to be up there, but he is playing lights out. And like, even when he had nobody to throw to, he was dominating. Like, he's still very good. He's getting Ricky Pearsall back.
The Juwan Jennings game.
Yeah, he'll get McCaffrey back soon, and he'll just be full power. Mm-hmm. So it's like the Megazord. He's got everybody connected. Finally, the Triceratops made it connected. He got his leg. Boom, full power. So I'm still on the maybe tier down. Like, if you've got a Josh Allen and you're just like, oh, I need some depth, get Purdy plus. Like that. Yeah. That's the move, in my opinion.
I like that, especially with Josh Allen. They're so focused on the running game. His passing numbers are going to really are the wild card in that one. I mean, we know he's still going to rush for touchdowns, but yeah, he's not. I can't see Josh Allen having 300-yard passing games. A few more times this year. Like, I just don't. Yeah. It's not how they want to play football. So, all right, let's get into the Patriots because we have something to talk about. Finally, with the Patriots, they didn't look like complete horseshit, and Drake May became the first rookie ever to lead his team in rushing and passing in his first start. He had over 50 yards rushing. He had 3 touchdowns through the air. Is he a rookie? Yes. Did he make some mistakes? Sure. He turned the ball over a couple of times. One was on a tip pass. Can't fully blame him for that. Against the Houston Texans, who have one of the best pass rushes in the league with Danielle Hunter, as well as Will Anderson. That line is a problem for the Patriots, and they know it. But Drake May's mobility and his ability to throw deep downfield was the difference that the Patriots did not have with Jacoby Brissett. They actually looked like a semi-functional offense, and Pop Douglas is going to be the benefactor of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for it. Drake May was one of my favorite rookie prospects in this class. Coming into the season, I didn't have any shares, and I made sure that I went out and I tried to get some, and I ended up with 4 now. So I am super excited for this. And I texted you after I was watching them. I said, "Does this make me a Patriots fan? Like, am I hot?" No, it doesn't. But I'm oh no, please take my eyes, but not. I am super excited for Drake May. My favorite part about this, I know it's going to sound weird, but him getting smoked by Will Anderson 3 times, getting sacked and just getting up. Like, there's a couple times where he got up slow, but people got to remember, this is an ultra athletic quarterback. He's got a family full of athletes. He is 6'4", 230 pounds.
Competing at North Carolina last year too.
Yeah, and he got up. He stood in the pocket. He was not nervous. And this is what we want to see. And I think that time period of him sitting and watching helped, because I don't think he'd be like this if he went in week 1 and got hit a bunch. I think he'd be a little shaky. But I think watching Jacoby Brissett get his ass kicked was like, okay, I'm about the same size as this man, and he's taking this beating. Jacoby probably talked to him like, hey, man, in a couple of days, you'll be fine. Oh, well, it's whatever. And so Drake May is probably learned that, and it helped him out. And I saw everything I needed to see. Like you said, he had a couple of turnovers, but man, like the deep ball was there. That deep ball to Boutte, beautiful on a string.
That was Derek Stingley in coverage too. That was nice.
Yeah. LSU versus LSU.
And I think Ramondre coming back. Ramondre missed this game, and it was Antonio Gibson, so they didn't really have an effective run game. But Ramondre coming back for his pass protection, as well as being a threat on the ground, is only going to help May. I'm expecting May to have a really good game against Jacksonville overseas, because Jacksonville is the number 1 QB-friendly defense. Every single quarterback that has started against Jacksonville this year has finished as a QB1, even Deshaun Watson.
Ugh.
So if you're playing DFS this week, fire up Drake May, baby.
So, and I heard this on a podcast, and they were talking. I know New England's offensive line looks bad. They're playing a little better than last year.
They are playing better.
But good quarterback play and good pocket movement makes an offensive line look better. Jacoby Brissett is big, and he has a little Big Ben to him, to where he just stands like a damn tree.
He lumbers. Yeah.
And he lumbers through. Drake May, what he did at North Carolina is pocket presence. People applauded him for his pocket presence when he's able to move and go up through the pocket. Just like, they're like, oh, this guy moves very well. He can step into his throws because he goes up into the pocket when it's surrounding him. He's very good at it. And I think that helped the offensive line. I thought the offensive line looked better. And the offensive line is also playing, they're getting healthier, let's just say. So, I'm super, super excited for Drake May, and I think the future is bright.
And all of his rushes weren't even game planned. They were all scrambles. So if they move in and they add some rushes into the attack too, I think that'll be good if Van Pelt does that. I want to talk a little bit about the Houston Texans, because this is the first game without Nico Collins, and we saw Tank Dell come alive in this game. Diggs has a nice game here, and so does Dell. So I think the two of those guys are really just going to coexist every week. I think Dell is a really nice wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside every week. We saw him catch the touchdown. Diggs got a touchdown as well. They had similar target share between the two. Joe Mixon has a big game in this one. I don't know what happened with the Pats run defense, but man, they were bad. Damian Pierce scored a long touchdown. It was just ugly. But I liked what I saw out of Tank Dell. He's looking a little bit healthier, playing with some more confidence. Was one of the things that I think early in the season, some of that explosiveness was maybe lacking a little bit. So I think he's getting healthier, and that's only going to help the Houston Texans offense in the next month without Nico Collins.
Yep. And if you have a chance, Dalton Schultz looks like he aged 10 years.
He looks like Jason Witten.
My opinion, go get Cade Stover on very cheap, or if he's a free agent, because they drafted him in the 4th. He is CJ Stroud's buddy from Ohio State. They know each other, and he's sneaky athletic. So if you have a chance, go get Cade Stover.
Yeah, now that Brevin Jordan's injured. Brevin Jordan will be a thing one day. I swear to God. All right, let's talk about the Bears, shall we? Because Caleb Williams, he's going into a bye this week, but he's had a nice stretch of a couple games in a row. This game, 4 touchdown passes. He looks confident. He looks good. Shane Waldron actually called a decent game for once, I thought, in this one. Their schedule is still pretty easy after the bye week. He's got at least another 2-3 weeks of playing kind of punch and bag teams. So his stats should look really good. And that's only going to give him confidence. So when he does play those really good defenses, I think Caleb's going to be fine. Because his confidence is going to be through the roof, because he's balling out right now. He's looking like the first overall pick. We know he can make the throws. He's got the weapons around him. Love what I saw out of Caleb. And DeAndre Swift, same thing with him. A couple more weeks after the bye. After that, if he has 2 more big games, might be time to sell him off.
Yeah. So for me with Caleb, I had him in 2 leagues. I dealt him in 2 leagues, but it wasn't like I was trading him because I was worried. I'm not worried about the most hype prospect coming out since, Andrew Luck or somebody like that. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. I trade him for Jordan Love and Jameson Williams. Pretty much it was Jordan Love in 2 seconds, and I traded 2 seconds for Jameson Williams, and I gave up Odunze with Caleb, which, by the way, I think Odunze is due for a massive game soon.
Yeah, he is.
And the other league I traded with you, I got Drake May and Jamar Chase, and you got Olave and Caleb. So, like I said, it wasn't like I was doing it for nothing. I knew Drake May was coming, and I put my chips in, and I'm like, okay, hopefully we see something that I believe in. And, so far so good. But Caleb, I think, is only going to get pushed up more and more. Jane Daniels is kind of coming back down to earth a tad bit, even though he still looks good. I think Caleb is going to right the ship back to where, okay, you made the right choice at 101. We're going to see progression. And as much as I really like that, I hate it because I don't like Shane Waldron as the coordinator. But I think the way Caleb's playing, it's going to turn into a kind of what we saw with Rodgers. Like Waldron could just be a figment, or like Nagy with Peyton Manning. It could just be like a figment of our imaginations. Like, do they have an OC? No, it's just Caleb knowing the offense and kind of changing it up and doing his own thing, doing Caleb stuff. So I'm not too worried about Shane Waldron because a talent like this, I think, can avoid terrible coordination like we've seen early on. And I think Waldron, as much as we harp on him, he is learning. And
at least he's adapting, right? Yeah.
And he's asking his team, like, "Hey, what can we do different? What do you guys think?" Like you heard stories.
He's
of
that. He's not so stuck in his ways where you're like, you run the plays, I call them. Like this is what it is. That's what you don't want to see.
I mean, you could do that if you're Kyle Shanahan, because Kyle Shanahan does that. But
if you have a track record, sure.
Yeah, he deserves to do that. So I think Caleb will be top 8 by end of the year for dynasty rankings for quarterbacks. And now I think he's at 12.
Yeah. He's definitely like when the next month of DLF ADP comes up, he's going to boost up. And who's going to fall a little bit is going to be Trevor Lawrence. Surprisingly, I'm not really that worried about Trevor Lawrence.
No, me neither.
I think once they get Doug Peterson the hell out of there, that team, the locker room's gone. Peterson needs to go. If they lose to the Patriots on Sunday morning, Peterson's getting the axe, right?
Oh, yeah. That's the only reason why he's not right now.
When they lose to the Patriots.
Well, that's the only reason why he's not right now, because they're still in London and they got to get him at his ass home. Like they're trying to be polite. Like, hey, we can't just leave him in London. That's rude.
True.
So they're waiting. And yeah, I feel like if you got any bet on anything, it's the Patriots win and Peterson gets fired. Peterson's even talked about like everybody's quitting on this. It's like, well, then go coach. And my favorite part about this, if you're down on Trevor Lawrence and you still like him, like we do, go buy him, because look at all the offensive coordinators that are going to be available for head coach. You've got the Tampa Bay coordinator, I forgot his name, who's down there just destroying people with his offense.
Yeah, who took over for Canales, I forget his name.
And then you got Ben Johnson, who is having his way with this new defensive philosophy. Ben Johnson's going to be able to handpick his job.
Bobby Slowick.
Yeah, Bobby Slowick. Like these guys, and even the guy up in Seattle that left Washington. I forgot his name.
Grubb.
Yes. Who's doing a great job. And all I'm hearing from like the Michael Lombardi show, he's even talking, he goes, defensive coaches aren't working out like they used to. It's a lot of offensive coaches that are just taking the podium. They're doing well because they're adapting these offenses. So if it were me, I have faith that the Jags will make the right choice and get an offensive coach to help their quarterback they paid a buco amount of money to. And I mean, look at the attractiveness. You got Tank Bigsby, you got Etienne, you got Brian Thomas, you got Christian Kirk, you got weapons, you got Evan Ingram. The only thing you really need to work on is maybe interior offensive line. So Trevor Lawrence is seeing pressure all the time.
Don't forget about Gabe Davis. Damn you.
Oh yeah,
he had 2 touchdowns in this game.
But I think Trevor Lawrence, I think this is the bottom. This is where we're seeing him drop to the bottom. And honestly, I think we're only going to see it go up through the offseason and through the rest of the season. Because once they fire a coach, I think they're just going to say, hey, Trevor, go.
Yeah, Lawrence has been a roller coaster ride. You had him going as the 101 in Superflex leagues. He has the disappointing rookie season. Then he slowly gets better. His year 3 was great. And then year 4, it's just, he's been an enigma in Dynasty. But the good thing about a quarterback is that they can take some time and that we know that the potential's there with him. So, all right, let's keep moving on. We talked a little bit about the Cardinals at the top with Marvin Harrison Jr.'s concussion.
You
Trey
worried?
McBride, no, I'm not worried. Trey
I'm
McBride
talking
has a
about.
really.
I'm talking about
What?
Arizona. Arizona as a
Oh.
whole.
Maybe a little bit. Trey McBride had a really nice game. They couldn't run the ball all that effectively, although Trey Benson did have a couple of nice runs in this game. You know, the Packers are a good team. Jordan Love, 4
is
touchdowns. Good. Yeah, he's
good. He's got a blend of Rodgers and Favre in him. Like, that's the perfect explanation, because Favre just didn't give 2 craps about interceptions. Doesn't care. And he's got a little bit of that in him.
Chargers, is that what we would call that?
And Aaron Rodgers has these off-platform throws that Love is starting to make. So, I mean, attitude-wise, he's my favorite quarterback I've seen from Green Bay. Like, Favre was fun back in his heyday because he was just like, oh, I don't care, whatever. And Rodgers, everybody hated, so that was different.
True.
But Love, I love Love. I love Love in all phases.
Not too much to extrapolate from this game, to be quite honest. Same thing with the Colts and Titans. I really like what Josh Downs is doing with Joe Flacco. I just hope that he can keep that up with Anthony Richardson, who Shane Steichen said will be their starter when he's healthy.
That's smart.
Looks like he'll be back this week. I just don't know how to trust that passing game. I like it much better with Flacco under center. I know a lot of people picked up Trey Sermon. He's dust.
He's bad. He's so bad.
Tyler Goodson, way better. Way better player.
Trey Sermon last week had the catching. He had like 6 catches for 28 yards. When Trey Sermon touches the ball, it's like he stops and just goes.
He's like a. Who do I want to compare him to?
A bad Trent Richardson.
A really slow Donta Foreman. Like, I don't know. Like,
no.
He's just not.
He's got no vision, and once he gets a handoff, he literally stops. He just stops, and then he tries to like, like the line had push, and he just stopped. It's like he just forgets what he's doing. It was so hard to watch.
Taylor back.
Thank goodness for Garrett Wilson saved me last night, because Trey Sermon was going to be the reason why I lost the game.
This was a nice matchup for Will Levis, and he literally just doo-dooed all over the field. He had a really bad game, under 100 yards passing. Bro, Calvin Ridley throwing a conniption at the end of the game.
It's getting close to Christmas. I think it's time to bring in Rudolph.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to make a change here. If they go through one more week of Levis not looking good, I think they're gonna make the change.
So people are like, "Oh, he's like Carson Wentz and stuff." No, Carson Wentz had good throws, and like I think Carson Wentz, the reason why he gets in trouble is because he did make some boneheaded plays, but he was also able to make good plays. And Levis, I think we're learning, is kind of all up in his head now.
He tries too hard.
Yeah.
It costs him big time. So, yeah, I don't want really anything to do with the Tennessee Titans offense other than Tony Pollard, who's looked great this season.
Yeah, and I think the Titans will have their franchise quarterback next year. They'll draft Shedeur
They'll have
Sanders.
A top 10 pick.
Yeah, they'll draft Sanders or Quinn Ewers. I mean, Quinn Ewers and Will Levis walk into bar. That's
oh, God. All right, let's move on to the Buccaneers and Saints. This was a fun game in the first half, and then the Saints kind of petered out. Spencer Rattler gets his first start of his career. He looked really good in the first half, and then it caught up to him in the second half, and he petered out a little bit throughout the second half. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, dude, he is having a season.
The NFL is so much better with Baker being good.
He had one scramble where I was like, his evasiveness in the pocket is one of the most underrated parts of his game. I was like, how do you not get sacked there? He is a crazy athlete, Baker Mayfield, and that was just a fun game to watch. Chris Godwin absolutely pops off in this one, and then they just ran the ball down the Saints' throats. Bucky Irving has a nice game, but who had the better game, Tyler?
It was Sean Tucker must die.
Yes. So James, former co-host, and I were big into Sean Tucker coming out of Syracuse. He doesn't go to he goes to the combine, but don't allow him to work out because he has a heart issue. He slips in the draft to round 6. I loved him as his profile.
He was a free agent. He didn't get drafted.
That's right. He was a UDFA. I drafted him in rookie drafts in the 4th round because I was so sold on Sean Tucker. I loved his tape out of Syracuse. So to see him do what he did last week, not only in the passing game, but rushing the football, that's the Sean Tucker that I saw on tape with Syracuse. Now, I know Rachaad White was out. When he comes back, Todd Bowles already said there's going to be some sort of like three-headed monster with the running back committee, which
A
sucks for
three-way. A bad three-way.
Yeah. Which sucks for fantasy football. But if you've had Sean Tucker just chilling on your taxi squad and maybe he ends up, getting more touches, that's what you want, and I just love that for him as a player, and to watch him just run through dudes, run around people. Like, I saw it. It was exactly like Syracuse. And I was like, thank you, Sean Tucker.
He is thick.
Yeah.
Either that or Bucky Irving is just small, and they look.
Well, they're both a little smallish, but Tucker is definitely built
Doug
like a thick boy. Yeah, good comp. Anything on the Saints other than Rattler?
I mean, Rattler, his interception was a fantastic play made by the defender. He literally leaped up, had to go backwards to get it. It was a great throw. Rattler, I thought when he was playing, like I'm being biased because I love Rattler, but his arm talent is there. People were worried about the deep ball and stuff, but his accuracy was on point. If you watch him throw, it's way different than Carr. Like, I don't know what it is. He's got more zip, and it's just like I'm looking forward to seeing how these other games go. Thursday, I'm excited to watch just for him. And I think if he plays well these 4 games, yes, they're going to play Carr, but I think they got their future quarterback right there. Yeah, he may be 25 when he gets the starting job, but I think that will work just fine for a guy like him, because people are all worried about maturity in him and how he plays hero ball sometimes. This is good. He's sitting.
And the Saints need a cheap starting quarterback based on how they laid out their team. Like, they could use a cheap signal caller and get rid of Derek Carr and his overpaid ass. Wouldn't be a bad thing.
This could be a Sam Howell situation, but I think with Rattler, he has pedigree. And I think we're going to see him flourish with it, because I don't think this offense is bad, and he fits. Is it LaFleur?
LaFleur.
Who is it that is calling plays in the Saints?
Kubiak.
Kubiak, yeah, baby cubes.
Baby cubes.
So yeah, I think with his offense, it works out very well. So if you have a chance to get
Baker, I've got him as a QB 2 and 3 in some leagues, and I'm starting him every week.
He's a must start. You have to start him.
I mean, 4 touchdowns. I mean, I know he had a dud a couple of weeks ago, but he's scoring 25 points a week on average. Like,
he's quarterback 2 in fantasy, right behind Lamar Jackson. He's the league leader in touchdowns. He's almost got 20, like, already.
Wild.
And
can you imagine if Baker puts together a 40 touchdown season?
And the Browns are just looking for a quarterback. Like, oh my God, I'm eating it up. I'm just like, my soul is just eating all this up. And if you have a chance, go watch Eli Manning's new show. It's where they do like undercover stuff. Baker goes undercover and dresses up as like a fan and plays catch with Jalen McMillan, and it is hilarious. Like, he's like, oh my shoulder, and McMillan's like, oh woo. It's you gotta watch it. I'm telling you,
I added it to my queue.
TV.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Browns Eagles. There wasn't too much to extrapolate in this game, although AJ Brown did finally come back from his hamstring injury and goes for 6-116 in a tutty. Devonta Smith was also back. He had a touchdown. Barkley, 18 for 47 on the ground, so he had a bit of a dud as the passing
carries though, which is nice.
He did, yeah. The Browns, Njoku's target share was great. So I know last week we were like, maybe it's a lost season for him. Maybe there's still a glimmer of hope. But getting Nick Chubb back can only help them, because Ford hasn't been the best. Donta Foreman hasn't been that great.
They're getting their offensive lineman back too, which helps, but they still got one issue. They have Deshaun Watson at quarterback.
Yeah. And I think you got to think Amari Cooper is going to get dealt.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And Elijah Moore went down. I think, honestly, the Eagles only getting 20 on the Browns and kind of not.
It was a closer game than it should have been.
Yeah. That's not great for the Eagles, but they fly.
I mean, Sirianni's
he's chirping.
If they get exited out early in the playoffs, I think Sirianni might be.
Yeah.
Peace out. Yeah, he's chirping and being a little bit of a bitch. All right, let's get into the Ravens and Commanders. Derrick Henry, man, still on pace for 2,000 yards, 23 touchdowns. Absolute bonkers. Lamar has over 300 passing yards, which was great. Only 1 touchdown. And Zay Flowers, man, was cooking in the first half. That's how we want to see Zay Flowers used every single week.
No, I agree. Love Zay. Andrews gets a touchdown. He gets 4 targets, just like Likely. So I think it's going to be a hit or miss with both those guys. But Andrews, I think, is back into good graces because he's getting more play. It like he had a car accident and that bad foot injury that we're talking about. He's going to take him some time to recover. So I'm not worried about Andrews anymore. And yeah, Derrick Henry. Wow.
I mean, this was a close game. I think if the Commanders had Brian Robinson, I don't know if that would have made the difference necessarily, but
it would have.
It would definitely would have helped. I thought Jeremy McNichols might get some run in this game, but he didn't. Austin Eckler got the bulk of the carries, and McLaurin has 2 touchdowns, so it looks like that connection is heating up more and more every single week.
They need
something else.
They need another receiver, and once they get that, this offense will be there.
Imagine Amari Cooper on the Washington Commanders. I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not going to have a high draft pick like we all thought they were going to add a weapon.
Right.
So it might be smart to make that trade for that said weapon.
Yep.
Like a T. Higgins might fit well here in the future.
If the Bengals lost that game, we'll talk about that game we'll talk about that game for about 10 seconds. If the Bengals were to have lost that game, I still think the Bengals think they have hope. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple of weeks at least. Chargers, Broncos. This was an interesting one.
Bo Nix, good for fantasy, bad for NFL.
I mean, Bo Nix, bad in the first half, good in the second half.
That's another team that needs another weapon.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, Vele, he's played 2 games and he's been the leading receiver in both.
Doug, you're younger than Vele.
That's fine. I don't care about how old he is. Like, if he's 25?
26 already as a rookie.
Right. You got to remember that Cooper Kupp was also like a 25-year-old rookie, okay? Like,
he was 24. So he was very young compared to Vele.
True. Herbert threw the ball 34 times in this one, which was very nice. But pass catchers, it was scant. They were throwing to Simi Fehoko and like my cousin Bob and like all sorts of people. It was J.K. Dobbins that led this offense. 25 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown.
The Chargers are
another on IR.
The Chargers are another team that I feel like this offseason could be out for a receiver, like a Higgins, or drafting one.
To go with Ladd.
Yeah, I mean, they pass up on Neighbors to get Alt, which, I mean, it may suck for them, but I think it works out for what they want to do and what they're doing.
I agree.
Herbert needs protection because he is he's kind of injury prone, but I think this game was the first game where he looked pretty healthy and good. Like it's old Herbert back because he's zinging the ball when he's able to throw it. So
and McConkey led the team in targets, which is good. He got banged up a couple of times in this one. So yeah, they need like a dominant outside alpha type of receiver.
Exactly.
That's what they don't have. Maybe when the Jets release Mike Williams. I'm just kidding. He's bad. Broncos, not too much to extrapolate from this one. Bo is fun for fantasy and kind of fun in real life.
Javante's dead.
Huh?
Javante's dead.
No.
He fumbled, never saw the field again. Audric Esme came in, had 2 carries at 6 yards per carry. They couldn't run the ball, but when they did, and after Javante fumbled, Sean Payton in his old ways.
Well, maybe we'll see. I mean, Javante just had a good game the week before, so
Esme is back.
They've got the Saints coming up, so
Payton's.
The Saints can't. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just ran all over the Saints. So yeah, revenge game for Sean Payton too. That'll be an interesting one.
I like Estime, even though the combine did not like Estime. He's a Notre Dame running back, so
it's like
probably
Kyron
won't
Williams.
work
He was
out.
Slow, and then he'll work out.
Yeah. So he's talk about opposites. Kyron, small, but very good in between tackles. Esme, gigantic, and needs better vision.
All right, we got about 5 more games, so we'll try to speed them up a little bit so we can get in and out of here. Steelers, Raiders. Raiders are a hot mess, but at least they have Brock Bowers. 9 receptions for 71 yards. He had a long one called back from a penalty as well. Kid's going to end up with 1,000 yards receiving and probably 90-plus catches on the season.
Dylan Lobb got in, fumbled.
First touch, first fumble.
But thank goodness Amir Abdullah fumbled at the goal line and caused them to absolutely lose the game. So, Dylan Lobb we could see again.
Najee Harris actually looked good in this game. 14 carries for 106 yards. He only played about 50% of the snaps as Jalen Warren returned. So that's a situation to keep an eye on. Like I said earlier, I do like Jaylen Warren more with Russ at quarterback because Russ tends to throw to the running backs more, where Justin Fields doesn't. He just doesn't. He just takes off. Aiden O'Connell in this one threw it up 40 times. No Jacoby Myers. Obviously, no Devontae Adams. The Raiders are a Brock Bowers show, and guys like DJ Turner and, hopefully Trey Tucker does something. But the Raiders are a hot mess going forward. I'm not really interested in anyone but Bowers. Even when Zamir White comes back.
Trey Tucker, maybe.
Maybe. All right, let's get into Lions Cowboys. Man, Lions, Jared Goff, over 300, 3 touchdowns. He hit Jamison Williams on a deep one. Almost had him on a second touchdown that got called back, if I remember correctly. Laporta, 1 catch, but it was 52 yards and a touchdown. One of my hot takes.
Jamison Williams.
I know, but one of my hot takes, if you remember, was that Sam Laporta would not finish as a top 5 tight end this year. And yeah, so far I'm right. I'm not happy because I have him in every league.
I was gonna say it's funny because in a league Doug and I are in, he's got Trey McBride, who I love, and I've got Sam Laporta, who he loves. And it's my only Laporta share other than the league I share with you. And I'm tempted to do a 1-for-1, but I think I miss opportunity. Plus, I want to keep that share because I do think Laporta is so good, especially in this offense.
I think he's not 100% healthy with the ankle still. And I could see him having a Trey McBride type. Remember when Trey McBride started off slow last year
and then blew up,
exploded at the end of the season? Or all we need is one Jamison Williams injury, and it's Laporta to the moon.
And I think the more we get into like divisional stuff, like against the Packers and Vikings, I think we're going to see more scheming because I think right now they're having fun. They're just getting their players the ball.
Sure.
Jamison Williams looks fantastic, and I'm glad I bought him in a league because I just wanted a taste. I wanted to know what the rush felt like, and it's fun. It's so fun. It's addicting. But yeah, this Lions offense, like I said, with Ben Johnson, they are doing whatever they want. And remember in the beginning of the season when we're all like, oh, Jared Goff, he gets that big contract. No,
he's fine. He looks great.
He is perfectly fine. And this is another player like, hey, if you got Josh Allen, tear down. Get Goff plus Gibbs plus something else. Like you could get plus, and Goff is scoring just about the amount as Josh Allen is. It's just you're not having the fun rush yards or the fun concussions to go with it.
Yeah, I thought this game was going to be more of a shootout, but the Cowboys just, CeeDee Lamb goes for 7 for 89, solid day, but no one else contributed really at all for the Cowboys.
They have no run game. Their offensive line is young.
Yep, it might be a bit of a struggle for the Cowboys going forward. I know CeeDee Lamb started last year quiet too, so we'll see if he explodes like he did last year. But maybe 7 for 89 isn't terrible. We got to remember that. But I know we're used to him being the wide receiver 1 every single week. But yeah, if you got Lions, you're feeling pretty good right now. Except for maybe Jahmyr Gibbs.
And I was gonna say I'd buy low on Gibbs, and Montgomery is one of the funnest running backs to watch play football.
Yeah, I was glad I got him in our comic book auction for dirt cheap. I don't know why anybody else didn't want him for $10.
He's fun to watch. That's all. He's
just a good football player.
But remember when he came out, he had the legs of Barry Sanders. He was the
Frankenstein. Yeah,
he is the ultimate Frankenstein.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean he's not quite like that, but he's a very good running back.
Yeah,
and he just signed an extension, so he'll be there for a little bit.
Him and Gibbs work good together, so I'm not worried about Gibbs.
They do. There'll be Gibbs weeks. For sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Falcons and the Panthers. This was I knew this was going to be a big one for the Falcons run game. Bijan gets 2 touchdowns. Algier goes for over 100 and a touchdown. Not much through the passing game. Drake London did have a touchdown catch. But other than that, he was relatively quiet. And then for the Panthers, Chuba has a solid game because that's what he does. Jonathan Brooks' practice window or his window is open. So hopefully he'll be on the field in a couple of weeks, which would be great to see what he can do. With Hubbard. And then Deontay Johnson, 6 for 78 and a touchdown. There wasn't really much else in this game. It was pretty standard stuff.
You know how last week I said Chuba Hubbard might be a good option for the Panthers to explore to trade because he's coming up on an extension? There was a rumor floating around that Hubbard could be exploited for a trade once Brooks comes back.
Exploited?
Yeah, whatever. It's a big word country out there.
They could explore a trade.
Yes. That's
Okay, not exploit him.
it's the
That would be
same
bad.
thing. Yeah, they could
Sure.
by saying, "Hey, you're traded."
You need a dictionary.
I don't need one. It's right here.
Anywho,
Yeah. So I think with Brooks, with Sanders, it's going to be harder to deal him because of the contracts. But with Hubbard, he's dirt cheap.
a
They
4th round
can-
rookie deal.
Yeah, 4th round rookie deal. It's expiring. So I think the Cowboys, anybody that needs running back help, could be a team that goes after him. And what could they get? Like a 4th, a 5th? 'Cause
Probably.
they're not gonna re-sign him. So might as well get some for it. They're losing. And I think it could be time we see Bryce Young again. It's coming up. If Dalton loses a couple more games, they might throw Bryce Young back in.
Yeah, and the good news is that, when they're making big plays, you saw Bryce Young in there celebrating with the team. So it looks like, he's not playing the whole like,
Well, he had to
I'm
sit
not
behind
playing.
Tua for a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to be a really good sport about it, which is
Yeah.
positive for his chances of getting back on the field. I mean, they're 1-5, they're 0-3 at home. Like, it ain't getting much prettier. Bengals Giants, yay Tyrone Tracy, yay Joe Burrow running a long time, and Daniel Jones leading the team in rushing. They need Malik Neighbors back.
Yeah.
That's
No,
where I'm at with that.
I was say
The
with
defense
this,
is good.
Chase Brown gets a late rushing touchdown.
Sealed the deal touchdown. Yeah.
And I mean, he should have slid, but he didn't. So
yeah.
Yay for us. Jamar Chase is fine. They were blanket covering him. T. Higgins was
He looked good.
the positive. Yeah, T looks back to normal.
Mhm.
And every time he goes down, I'm like, oh shit, here we go. He's hurt again. I would love for the Bengals to re-sign Higgins. At first, I'm like, oh, I'd love Higgins to be the 1. No, I'd love to see him stay, and just be the 2, because I think it works out perfect that way. But it's not going to happen because they can't afford that. Burrow, you heard stories about his wrist. He's still trying to get the motions back and the numbness. Yep.
Yeah.
But when he makes throws, they're fine to me. So it's
very
working.
interesting. I broke my wrist with a scaphoid injury, which is like the worst wrist injury you could have on my throwing hand. I mean, I don't throw a football every single day, but when I throw a football, like, it hasn't bothered me that much. So
yeah,
get
his
a new
was
doctor, Joe Burrow.
his was
Jesus.
ligaments and all that fun stuff. So that's when it gets really affected. And he even mentioned, he goes, my knee still feels weird and my wrist. And
he's had a career of being banged up. That
yeah,
Macaulay
he
Culkin.
tore his ACL in college too. He's had a rough go, but when he's on, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Oh,
so
absolutely. And go by Eric All. Every week that goes by where Eric All doesn't do
All.
much, you want to throw out a trade offer for Eric All.
Yoshivas is a buy. Burton, I still think is a super buy because his hype was
What
off
do you
the
think you'd have to
chart.
give up for Burton right now? Like, probably still a third?
A third. But I think the team that drafted him in the 3rd probably won't give him up. So if you have to give like a 3rd and a 4th, I mean, that's fine. Because I do think once Higgins leaves, he will be the slot guy. And then Yoshivas will go into the T. Higgins role.
Yeah, because then they could have cheap receiving core.
Yeah, Yoshivas is going to be a great replacement because he is super athletic. He's got decent hands, but
he's got the size, he got the speed, just like T. Yeah.
Yep.
I've been saying that for a while. All right, let's get into the
that.
last. Shut up. Let's get into the last game of the week. The Buffalo Bills against the Jets. The Jets really pissed this one away with a couple missed field goals and turnovers. Rodgers all angry. You love to see it. Bills. So I had a redraft decision to make, Tyler, and I had James Cook in my flex, and I was like, you know what? I got to pick up a player and start him. I can either pick up Ty Johnson or I can pick up Ray Davis because they're both available.
You picked up Ray Davis because you're smart.
No, I picked up Ty Johnson because I'm stupid.
So you're not smart.
I'm not smart. I'm dumb.
You should have asked me because you know what? In a league, I traded. Okay, so this is the tier down quarterback thing I'm talking about. I tiered down. I got Jordan Love for Stroud, but I also got Ray Davis because I have James Cook, and I got an early 3rd. And you know what? I was like, sweet. I've got my backup for James Cook. He's smaller. He's having a great year, but there's a chance because Ray Davis has looked good in the periods where he's played. And
I thought about it for a good 5 minutes, and I was like, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis didn't play at all. The missing part of my formula was Ty Johnson outsnapped Davis a ton last week. But then I was like, oh, he was on the field more. And then I should have just said, instead of like, they're still going to use Ty Johnson in that same role, and Ray Davis will take. I don't
The
know
James
why
Cook
I thought.
role.
I don't know why I thought the way I did. I still won that matchup, which is great. But now someone picked up Ray Davis before the game, so now I don't have James Cook's backup in a redraft league.
Yeah.
So now I'm kind of kicking myself in the dick.
And I mean, Ray Davis, he looked good. Like he is.
I'm not worried about James Cook.
No,
I know people
James
are like,
Cook,
"Oh, James Cook lost his job on his day off," and I'm like, "Will you people calm down?"
But yeah, I think a lot of people though, if they had James Cook, they did draft Ray Davis because they did want that handcuff, and they thought, hey, if James Cook doesn't take the next step, Ray Davis could be Latavius Murray or so and so. But yeah, Ray Davis, he looked great. Keon Coleman starting to worry a little bit.
I'm worried about this passing game in general. Like we talked about it earlier. Dalton Kincaid leads the team in targets. He doesn't do much. Dawson Knox gets a touchdown. And then Khalil Shakir coming off an injury, only a couple of catches. Mac Hollins, like with his barefoot ass, like doing
scoring
his thing. Scoring a touchdown. But the Bills need a receiver.
Yeah. And so I had a friend text me and he goes, "What's up with Dalton Kincaid?" And I said, I think he is just more hype than he is reality, because right now we saw end of last year, like, he had a couple games where it was like 8 for 90 or 8 for 76 and a touchdown here and there, but he didn't have like a crazy blow up consistent style rookie year. And we're seeing it progress into now. Like, he was a high profile athlete, but he didn't go to like a high profile school. So we're sitting here being like, okay, is he just adapting to the NFL? And when he is the number one target and getting focused on by defense, he can't win.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, he's the next Kelsey. No, he doesn't win like Kelsey. So I think we're looking at a Kyle Pitts situation where we could be waiting for a couple years being like, is this the year? Is this the year? So I'm very worried about Kincaid, and I don't have him anywhere except one league.
I do not have him in 14 leagues. I do not have one single dollar because I'm so heavy on Laporta. Like, why would I have Kincaid?
Yep. I have one share. I paid up for him in bar tab, and I put him on the block because my whole team is. So, but yeah, I now's not the time to sell. But once he does have a big game, maybe look to go elsewhere.
Or you just hold him and be like, you know what? It might just take a little bit more time.
Yeah, because he's a tight end.
And that's naturally what happens unless you are, Laporta or Bowers, and guys like that. So, yeah, awesome. Well, that is it for week 6. I'm looking forward to week 7. I've had a couple very good weeks back to back in fantasy football, so I'm hoping to keep that momentum into week 7. I'm feeling good about all of my teams, which I don't say that every single year, but I'm having a good season. So I'm looking to keep that momentum up and made some moves here and there, and kind of going for it like I do. So my rebuilding team years are over. I don't have a single team where I'm rebuilding, which is kind of weird. But also kind of nice that the teams that I've took over years ago are starting to win. I've got a couple of them that are leading league in points and stuff like that. So it's nice when a plan comes together. That's all I'm saying. So,
yeah.
All right. That's going to wrap us up. I'm Doug. He's Tyler. We'll see you next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, as well as leave us a rating and review over on Apple iTunes so we can be the most popular Happy Hour podcast. That's right. There's another one. There's another.
Matt
and
Berry.
They're more popular than us.
No, wait, Matthew Berry.
Hey, he's my friend on Twitter. Don't you besmirch him.
He's my friend on Twitter too.
Oh, look at that.
He's friend of the program.
Friend of the program. Yes. Yes. Happy hours unite. That'd be fun.
There's nothing wrong.
We should get him out in the happy hour.
There's nothing wrong with 2 happy hours.
No, that's true. Cheap appetizers and cheap drinks. Count me in.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week in week 7 here at the Dynasty Happy Hour.